Hey, you're on the Peet Reet Show. No, we're on the Peet Reet Show. No, we're all on the Peet Reet Show. If you loved L.A. Law and all the major league movies as we did, then you're going to love our next guest. Corbin Bernsen, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Nice to have you.
Good to be here.
Listen, we were talking, and you said L.A. Law was off 23 years ago.
Something like that, 1994, so
wow.
Do the math, I know.
It seems like
yesterday. It doesn't seem that long ago.
No, of course, when you look at him, he hasn't changed. You've been doing some of this stuff and Botox.
No, I don't do any of that. No.
Was it fun to do LA Law?
Well, it was fun on several levels. One, it was fun, and two, it was my first big thing. So, yeah, it was great. It was, it was the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah, and you were kind of like the tough lawyer guy, right? So I mean, and people think that's what you really are when they see you, right? Especially when you do a good job.
Yeah, you always get confused. I mean, people confuse me with not necessarily the tough lawyer one, but the guy with the women and doing all that stuff, which is great. I happened to get married in the first year, so I started a family right away. So I spent a lot of time, most notably when I hosted Saturday Night Live.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the skit that they ended up, or the monologue, and one of the skits during it was how I'm not, me trying to convince people I'm not the guy that's on the show, which it always fell flat when I did it in person, and it was even on then, it was not very, at least for the monologue, I remember being very uncomfortable.
Where'd you grow up?
Los Angeles.
So you're Los Angeles, and also obviously Los Angeles, you always wanted to be an actor, right?
My mother, who's gone, hey Mom, was an actor for her whole life. She did soap opera for 40 years.
And we all know her well.
Yeah,
yes.
so I grew up in it. My father was an agent, became a producer. So yeah, I grew up in it. And I didn't want to do it in the beginning. I wanted to do anything but what my parents did in their screwed up lives. And it wasn't until my dad gave me a part in a movie that he was actually producing called Three the Hard Way, one of the first black exploitation movies with Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, and Jim Kelly. And I got a little taste of acting, and I got paid $900, and he blew up my van, my car, and he gave me $900. I'm like, okay, this is cool.
I want to go back to Saturday Night Live for a second. Is it true when you're on that show that you have to go study for like a week ahead of time, all the different skits you've got to be in?
You rehearse them, yeah. You go there, it's a full week, it's pretty intense. And you're there
there's like 400 writers, or a lot of writers anyway, throwing ideas at you.
Yeah, when you do a show like LA Law, at least at that point, I was still relatively young and new about it. You sort of depend on the scripted word, although I had also studied improv and done improv. But there, it just keeps changing, flying around with ideas, and you get to the point where you do they do two shows. One's earlier, it's like a safety show, it's a rehearsal, it's a dress rehearsal, but they have the footage, God forbid something else happens. And you do that, and by the time the middle of it, you get, it's a very short time, an hour maybe, and Lauren comes down and gives you notes, and out with that one, we're not doing that one, we're changing this one, that my monologue changed.
We'd be ruined.
Oh man.
So now you were brought up with a family in the business, in LA, you're doing the thing, but you seem like a grounded guy. Why is that?
Wow. It's hard to answer that because it sounds like I'm patting myself on the back a bit. And I don't mean to do that, but the things, I don't always feel grounded, by the way. Mm-hmm. But I got married right away. I've been married for 28 years. The same woman, got 4 kids. Doesn't mean I haven't looked at women and went, wow, God. I'd like me some of that. I'm not dead. But I've really tried to stick to that and not tried, but I have been faithful to that. So I ground myself in my family. My family goes out to my community, my neighbors, and I just, we're having fun here. We're at this Comic-Con, and there's a bunch of actors signing autographs. And I just see the difference in people who just, I don't know, drink the Kool-Aid, and for some reason all of this and all of that stuff is what is important to them. Me, family, speaking with. I'm just a different guy. There's times where I go, man, I'd love to have the jet. I'd love to be the guy, with the big deal and fans following him. But then again, I say to my wife sometimes, we walk around. Like somebody here said, "Hey, do you need security?" I went, "No,
Yeah.
I don't."
I'm good.
And you know what? I like that.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I think if I was in Hollywood, that's the shoes I'd want to be. But
You just and my I also had training. I trained, I studied, I trained. I really, again, not patting myself on the back. It just by happenstance, I paid my dues.
Yeah.
And I had a chance not to with my mom and my dad. I could have lolly-lawed into it, and I worked it. Went to school, got my degrees, got my master's degree in playwriting. Really studied the craft. My mother, she wasn't going to give me her blessing unless I really understood the craft. And to this day, I'm still learning.
and she didn't want to make her look bad because she was well known
she
in the
didn't
community.
want that, but
right?
she also was a person who like, don't you come and step on what I do.
Yeah.
If you're just going to buy it, I mean, look, I'm not going to tell you that money and girls were not a motivating factor to be an actor. But it isn't. At the end of the day, she said that's not what's going to get you through. It's not going to make you happy. Probably in anything you do. A lot of rock and roll bands probably started there, but the guys who live on are people who really found they appreciate the music and the craft of what they do. That carries on. And by the way, you do that enough, you still get the money and the girls.
Yeah. So how does somebody like you in your position make the world a better place for other people?
Just through example. I can talk all I want. I've been making faith-based movies lately. We can do another 2 hours on why and how I got there. I happened to make a movie that somebody picked up that said, "Hey, you're a Christian filmmaker." I went, "Sure." That works. And then I made more films. I started really studying a faith that I had as a kid. Mm-hmm. And I found that I can go out and go, "Well, I believe this, do that." And I thought, no, that's not it, And I don't also buy into the Kool-Aid there as well either. But I realized at the end of the day, the best thing I can do in the world is be true. And I know that's a hard word. It's weird. What does that mean?
As best you can.
Be true to yourself. But lead through example.
Mm-hmm.
And don't lead through example, meaning I'm trying to impress you or tell you what to do. Just be it and do the right thing. And I'm very fortunate, blessed, and I connected to faith because I have a strong moral barometer of what's right and wrong.
Yep.
And I go way over there from, look at my eyes going over there and then chocolate and every other thing, and then I come back again. But I'm able to bring myself back to center and know what's important.
Or your wife tells you,
well, yeah, both.
Well, at least now you're vocal about your faith, right? Which I think is something that probably before you weren't, and now you're in a position where you can.
Well, I didn't know my faith. I didn't go to the gym of my faith. It was until I made this film that I started exploring my faith. But my faith, which has led into a bigger open thing, which is faith and a place for moral base, compass, believing in God, maybe not in a way that people think they believe in God, but it's not a big sort of, Christian-y thing. Mm-hmm. I identify as such because the guy who impresses me is this guy, Jesus Christ, who basically said, live a life like this, which is basically love, which is basically what the 60s were, as far as I'm concerned. Another long-haired dude saying love, and it appeals to me. But I just try to live my life and to change. I don't really want to change the world. I just want to be it. And I guess the best thing I can do is be a role model for my kids. I know I get pissed at myself when I get too angry or I get envious or I get too heavy or, because I know it's affecting them, and if I can impress upon them that, then I got 4 people that are going to go out in the world and that's how we change it. It's not wave a magic wand, change a law. All of a sudden it's live by example.
So let me take you somewhere if you want to go there. Let's talk about your election in the States.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm okay talking about it. I think I was depressed the last couple of weeks and for certain reasons, and I'm fair to say depressed. I mean, not
Okay.
in any grave danger to
felt out of
press.
sorts.
Everybody
Yeah.
gets
Once in a
depressed.
while.
And I had certain things about career and things that I want to do and ambition I still have, and but then I came back and I really thought I'm also really upset, that this place I grew up, we could call it U.S. Canada. I mean, it's kind of all the same.
Absolutely.
Kind of the
We feel
same
that
thing
way,
a little
yeah.
bit, but just call it U.S. That's where I'm from. We grew up with all these principles, and by the way, we had nuclear threats. I had to get under the desk and duck and cover, and we had all this stuff. But you get to the election, just jump way forward. I'm disappointed that these are the people that were,
Floated to the top.
floated to the top, and and you go into a lot of things. You go into as politics become politics, and that's Hillary Clinton. And does she lie? And Donald Trump is a reality star, and really, that's what the
That's the best of the best?
That's the best of the best. When what we really need is we just need a voice that again can kind of lead by example. It doesn't have to be squeaky clean. Nobody is,
Yeah.
But I was telling somebody earlier, I thought really two things about it. Nobody impresses me so much so they've got to be the president. That's just straight up, that's where everybody feels nothing new there. You go, I'm a guy who likes change. I like motion. My whole notion of spirituality, my faith is it's all in motion, God in motion, migration of the way we think of being Christian or Jewish or Buddhist. We're born, we live, we die. Cells reproduce, they die, everything is always in motion.
Energy.
And it's energy. And so I'm much like I did, and I got a lot of crap for this, and maybe I'll be very careful. When it came to the election with Obama, I happened to like the man. I thought he was rooted in something calm. He felt good. But I also thought, I don't care who gets elected. I saw sort of an inability to make any motion in Hollywood. There you go, exactly. In Washington. So I did think it'd be interesting in my lifetime, and for us is in motion to have the first African American president.
Yeah.
Because it says to an African American kid, you can have the highest job in the land. And I thought that was important for a kid to change everything that's happening. And we look at it and we go, well, look at all the stuff that's happening. I would argue it's still changing, and changing for the better. As bad as it looks, all these shootings and everything, they look terrible in the moment, but in the long range of things, I think it's all in motion. I think you have an African American president, all this stuff is bubbling up. You just can't go wave a wand and same thing.
Yeah.
You can't go, and everybody who's African American, black guy, all over the world, you're free and it's all done and over. Thank you very much, we're sorry. It doesn't happen like that. But you do things and you open the lid on it, and it's always, sorry I'm going on, but to me it's always like a boil or a blister. It festers, and then you pop it, and then the stuff comes out.
And it heals.
And what?
And then it heals.
And then it heals. And it's got to come out. I was with a guy the other day who's written a wonderful book called The Great Spiritual Migration about what I really believe in faith and all that. And, he was talking about this thing, we have to kind of bottom out. We have to bottom out. My mother was an alcoholic. You got to get to the point where you go, I'm an alcoholic, and help me, somebody help me. You got to get there to...
You have to know it.
It's not that you have to bottom out. You have to go to a point where you go, I give. We do it as actors all the time. We do a take over and over and over. It's like, what more do you want? Just keep going, and all of a sudden you do something that's fresh and new. So as far as this election, I see two things that can happen here. And I'm not sure which is the better.
Nobody is.
If assuming nothing's going to happen no matter who's there, it's interesting that Hillary Clinton can empower younger women to say, we too can have the highest job in the land. Back to the same thing. And I think if nothing else in time, that's a powerful 4 years or 8 years, and it's a powerful thing. has nothing to do with fixing anything other than you, young girl. It's like when Sally Ride went up in space or something. It's like you too can be something, and I think that's important. Not just because women should, not that. It's just important that a woman knows, a young girl knows that she too can have vision and become the highest thing in the land. The other is, going back to the Trump, is that I think he can also help us bottom out. There's something with the loud voice. I get a little worried about the dangers he might get us in. But it's kind of like, all right, America, you want Jerry Springer, you want to be in this trash world, trash talk loud, because it's definitely a way to make something happen.
Yeah.
Talk loud, don't have a plan, don't care, carry a big stick, boom, you're dead. And that's definitely a way to deal with things. I personally don't think it's the way, but it's important that perhaps we give it a try.
I think in all of this, if you look at if you're looking at the positive, you're seeing a side of Hillary that you wouldn't have seen if it wasn't for Trump. And
Right.
I think what it's shown people in this whole election so far is that you see there is corruption. There are people that are doing things they shouldn't be. And Trump, for whatever reason, he's exposed it. So there's good in that.
And that's the bottoming out.
Yeah. So,
And in the middle of it, though, he's doing it through a method that is appealing to us of going to our lowest common denominators to do it. So it's kind of a double thing. He is exposing because he's loud.
Yep.
And he's exposing, but he's also doing it by just punching.
Well, I think people are in the States anyway are a little fed up with the status quo of the same thing decade after decade.
And we're also upset with the notion of trash TV and trash reality.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's weird. It's like so going back to your question, what's right? I don't know. I'm waiting for this voice. I hear him in my head. And if I were a couple of years younger and with a bit more experience and willing to defend all the things I've done in my life, but I hear this voice of somebody saying it's just somebody who doesn't trash him, doesn't trash her, says there's wrong there, there's wrong there, there's wrong within me, there's wrong within you.
let's fix it.
If I ever, I'll end it by saying this. I will write a book one day. People ask me to write a book, and it's going to be called Man in the Middle, because I believe that's where we really are. We are people. We are listening to the extremes of all things, and they have the loudest voices. Most of us, if I say to people, this goes to my faith thing, what do you feel about abortion? Well, it's what, to take a kid? I mean, if you've had a kid especially, it's like, wow, that's a tragedy to have to, you've made a life and you're going to take a life. That's, if you don't like it with capital punishment or killing ants or whatever, it doesn't sit right with you. But should a woman have a right to choose with her body? She should. Man in the middle. It's not black or white. Should people have the right to own and bear arms? Well, our Constitution says so, but let's say it didn't. Sure, somebody wants to hunt, wants to have protection, they live in an area, they feel they need protection, but do you need AK-47s and all of that stuff?
Exactly.
No, but they hold that, so everybody holds the extreme for fear of a slope going to the other side. I say it's time to let loose so we can find the middle. And that's the voice of the person I haven't heard that says, you know what, Donald, I get you're pissed. I really get it, man. And I know America's pissed. But we got to come back here. Hillary, you're a politician, your career. I don't believe everything you said about emails. I'm going to call it out. But I think you have some decent ideas about policy and you have a steady hand on the wheel.
Yeah.
But let's come back to the middle. And I just haven't, I don't know. I haven't found
It's not going to happen in this election, that's for sure.
No.
Now, what's in the future for you? When are we going to see you next on
I'm
TV?
running for office
Of the president.
in 2020.
Apparently.
Cut to, we had him here. We have some exclusive vintage footage of Corbin Bernsen.
Saying he would run for
He would
president.
run for president.
And we will keep this footage.
I'm continuing to write movies that are exploring my faith. And now especially this migration. I say faith. I don't like to scare people. Like not this head
It's
over the-
okay. It's your faith. Just,
No, it's
yeah,
faith, you know, but it's migration of my spirituality and really a sort of a broader thing that I think is a nice thing for me to explore, but also good for entertainment and people to listen to. They're talking about rebooting LA Law, and that's been announced, so I can say that. I can't say what it is, but it's some form of it. And then, a couple other little film ideas I've been writing. I love writing.
Yeah.
Writing as I get
passion?
older. Yes. My passion's my family, really.
Yeah.
Writing is this wonderful place I get to go to, and I do get to play with the voice in my head and be true. All of us have to lie our way through the woods a little bit, but when I write, I get to be true, and if I'm not true, I have only myself to yell at.
Because you put it out there,
So, I'm going to write more. I do want to write this book at some point, as opposed to my tell-all or my. It's this notion of, because it's really where I live my life. And you asked before, what do you do to examine? I said, well, the best I can do is write a book that's truthful to me, that people care about that, or they view me as somebody who has listening. I can probably get it out in this book. And I feel like I'm rubbing my nose like Donald Trump.
That's all right.
I do not do cocaine.
It's quite hot and humid in here, is what's happening.
It is hot.
Well, Corbin, thank you so much for being on the Peet Reet Show.
Thank you.
We wish you all the best.
We look forward to
Thank
your
you.
next project.
All right.
And don't forget us, okay? When you're in Niagara Falls, look up Peet and Reet, and we want to have you back on the show.
We'll take you around.
We'll do it during the 2020 election.
Okay,
Absolutely.
all right.
All right.
All right. We'll see you next time on the Peet and Reet
Saying
Show.
go like this. Is he being crazy?
He's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, he didn't understand what we were talking about.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our director.
I am crazy.
Yeah. Thank you, Corbin.